So what is it this time, Mr. Bester? Hunting out freedom fighters, pulling wings off flies, annexing the Sudetenland?
But as a doctor, I have to treat all my patients equally. Even the annoying, self-righteous, arrogant ones with self-important delusions of godhood.
Thank you. I feel far more at home now. The struggle between mundanes and telepaths will be no struggle at all. So you're the one that's been peeking in my window at night.
On an all-new Babylon 5, Bester's training some new psychops.
Your job is to track down rogue telepaths. If they can fry your synapses, they will.
When a murder in the ranks rocks the core.
This is an internal psychor problem. That means we deal with it within the family.
He's my
They track the killer to Babylon 5. But what will it take to stop him?
Murder from the inside out.
On the next Babylon 5.
You have transmissions holding.
Patch incoming signal. Full audio and video decode.
Purple files accessed.
What you are about to see has never been shown to anyone outside the Great Council.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Gray 17, a Babylon 5 podcast, part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We're a group of people watching Babylon 5 for the very first time, and a group of other people who are watching it for the umpteenth time. And we are here today to talk about, not an episode about Nazis, I swear. The core is mother, the core is father. I'm Scott, and with me is
Blake,
Emily,
Jessi,
Kevin,
Mike,
and Nicole.
So before we get started talking about the core is mother, the core is father, a reminder to click all the links down below. We've got our social media links. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can talk spoilers on Twitter. You can talk with the newbies on Facebook. And we also have our Discord, which is open to any of our Patreon members. We got a few more Patreon members this week, so thank you to our new folks who joined. And be sure to join us in the conversation over there in Discord. And a very special thank you to our Grey Council members who are listed as producers down below. Thank you so much for supporting us. And please be sure to click all the links, click the subscription button, the up button, all of that. You know, we've been talking a while now that the YouTube algorithm hates us. We had another person pop on our Facebook and say they couldn't even find our last episode. So that's great. So please be sure if you're watching on YouTube to click that subscribe button, that notify button, and the up arrow so you can, or the thumbs up, so you can know exactly when we do drop new stuff on YouTube. I think maybe another reason why we're seeing less people watching our YouTube stuff is based off this review we just got in. So the review is from Jared SCH10. It's pretty cut and dry. Shadows and Vorlons are scary. They are so scary, I can't watch after they leave the universe. So maybe some of our audience has decided that maybe season 5 is not to their liking, but please be sure to help us get new audience by clicking on those buttons and sharing as well. And of course, the best way that you can help us is by leaving a review just like Jared did. You can do that on Apple, on Amazon. Apple really does help us the most. So if you can leave us a review, do that, and maybe it'll get read. Even if it is not a 5-star, although Jared's was. So we appreciate that. And let's go ahead and get started with the synopsis. I believe, Mike, you have it this week.
Core is mother, core is father. Chin got stabbed in his aorta. That's all I got. That's the furthest I was able to write it.
Wow.
you couldn't work in the thing about a fascist hoe going after Bester. You didn't have time to work that.
Scott blew my mind by telling me that this episode was about Nazis. I had no idea.
Well, Bester turned down. Nazi pussy.
Oh no.
From Audrey Griswold.
But wait, someone was trying to fuck Bester, which is just wrong.
That's what we're talking about.
We'll talk about it, Nicole. We'll talk about it.
I know. I'm sorry.
A semi-real one. Bester takes on some interns and goes on the manhunt for a psychic murderer that flees to Babylon 5. Ta-da!
And JMS goes back to his Murder, She Wrote roots and does a little crime thing. It's cute. Let's go ahead and hear from our newbies first on their first impressions. And for those who are just joining us for the first time, newbies have not watched past this episode. So We'll get their impressions, and we'll go to Nicole first. Nicole, first impressions.
I'm not down with Bester episodes because I think he's a jerk, but this was a good one. The entire episode, I kept singing "You Can Call Me Al" in my head. So we learned that his name is Al. We learned a little bit more about him, about how he went to the Corps as a month-old baby. So it was interesting to learn more about him. And I feel like the episode humanized him a little bit more than we've seen before. I actually felt myself kind of liking him by the end of the episode. I mean, except for all the stuff about the mundanes. I didn't like that. But I thought it was interesting that we only encountered Franklin and Zach Allen in the episode. Those were the only other major cast members from Babylon 5 that were in it. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I thought it was really good. Multiple personality telepath. That is some scary shit. It was just interesting to see that, like, there was more to the story with the telepaths, like kind of the origin stories. Oh, and we got to see their headquarters. We've never seen their headquarters before, right? Was this the first time?
We've seen bits and pieces, but nothing like a lot.
Like, not like this. Okay.
Yeah,
it was, I liked it. You know, I wasn't sure when I saw the title. I was like, oh, fuck. But I actually really liked this episode, believe it or not.
Great. Jessi, first impressions.
Well, first I want to start the episode by correcting some of the non-politically correct terms used in this. It's now called dissociative identity disorder. You're all welcome. She's woke! I can't help it. To the people out there who think that shadows are scary and season 5 isn't for them, I join you in your thoughts. This was not my episode. It's fine. I hate Bester. I hated Bester in this one even more. And I hated the little Nazi girl that wanted to fuck Bester even more so. So she's an evil bitch and I did not enjoy her at all. So those are my hot takes on this episode. You're all welcome.
This is going to be a fun conversation. Emily, first impressions.
Well, I didn't hate it.
Oh,
I actually liked it because it was a Bester episode, and those are usually more interesting. Also, there was a lack of Sheridan, so I didn't get annoyed by him. But I have questions about how a murderous telepath comes on to B5, and Lockley and Sheridan are nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Just have questions about that. I'm sure we'll get to them.
It's called budget.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
Was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
I thought you were looking at your notes and preparing for what's next.
I'm just spacing off.
Excellent. Perfect. Welcome, everybody. Let's go to our first ones who have watched every single episode and remember most of them. And we'll go to Mike first. First impressions?
Speaking of budget, was the makeup department just out to lunch on this one? Or holy crap. Like, I feel like I have recorded films for high school that had better special effects than like the blood in the eyes and stuff on this. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I actually did like this episode, despite the fact that I have made it pretty well known that I generally don't give a hoot about the whole telepath storyline and drama. What can I say? Walter Koenig, aka Bester, he has enough charisma to carry an episode, even a filler, mediocre murder mystery episode that matters to no one.
Kevin.
I like this one. It's directed by Stephen Furst. It's his third of the series that he directs. And I thought it was interesting. They got to look at the Psy-Corps in detail and really do kind of a semi-deep dive on it. I do have some thoughts about what we were already talking about with the young lady coming on to Bester, so we'll get to that soon. But overall, I definitely like this one. It is interesting not to have an episode with hardly any of the main cast in it, but Walter Koenig can certainly carry an entire episode, which he pretty much did. So I thought it was a good one.
Blake.
I also like this episode, and as Kevin mentioned, it's directed by Stephen Furst, and this is his third one. But one thing with each of the episodes he directed, they were all told from perspectives of people outside the main cast. So he's the guy that's really directed these episodes that get into the other characters and other people outside that main core cast and really tell some of these surrounding adjacent stories. And I like that storytelling from him. I think he's done these episodes really well. And this one as well. And you're right, Walter Koenig can carry an episode on his own with just his own presence and bringing in, you can definitely see JMS's roots here as well, coming from Murder, She Wrote, where he really went into this more crime and detective story type thing that he did. And some of the characters are interesting because Bester has been brought up to be the guy we all hate. We despise this guy. He's the Nazi. But this episode shows you that other side where you've got the people in Psy-Corps that idolize him as the hero and how great he is. And even JMS commented on this in some of his commentary where he said, even Hitler painted roses. So it kind of shows us that other side to the people who agree with Bester and how they view him versus how those of us who have been following the story all along just view him as the complete Nazi son of a bitch that he is.
Yeah, this is not like my favorite episode at all, but I do enjoy watching it. It's a nice little tangent episode. I love how even Bester says not everything revolves around B5, but then we immediately go to B5, which is great. In terms of the, Emily, to your point, I do love the fact that you're the one who hates Sheridan the most, but you're upset when he's gone, which is cute.
I didn't say I was upset. I just have questions.
But, you know, we've been yelled at by some of our viewers over the past couple years about what truly is a bottle episode. And this is one of them. Because you have some of the main cast who get a week off, which means the ones who aren't on full contract don't have to be paid for this episode. So it allows for a little bit of money saving. Because what happens is the series gets a budget. Not every episode, the series or the season. So if you spend a little less on this one, you can spend a little more down the line, and we'll see how that pays off here in the next few episodes. But I also do love learning more about Bester, and I'm looking forward to having you all talk about our good little Nazi friend. So let's dive in, and there's not really much of a B plot per se, so let's just dive into the main plot. And Nicole, what do you have?
We can start with kind of like the history of Bester in the beginning where they were on Psychor and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why, but it just blew my mind that his name is Al. Like, not the name I would have expected for him. I don't know why that just blew my mind. And the one guy just kept calling him Al. So it was like totally throwing me off. It was interesting to me. Like I said, I feel like this episode humanized him a little bit more, kind of showed a different side of him. Not agreeing with him and his antics by any means, because I still think he's a dick. But like learning that his parents died, and that he was taken over by, you know, the Corps when he was a month old. So he really didn't grow up with any family. Like, I mean, I know the Corps is supposed to be your family, but like, I don't know. It just learning a little bit more about him and like seeing how others react to him. It was interesting because like, that's not the reaction he gets most of the time when we see him. Most of the time people don't want to see him or don't want him around, you know? So seeing that girl fawn over him and that one guy look at him like a hero and get nervous to talk to him. Like, I'm like, dude, he's not like Michael Jackson or Madonna or something. He's just Bester. In my head, I'm like, he's not that cool. Like, he's not like a rock star, you know, but to them, he is. So it was just really interesting to see that. And then, man, that girl, like, why don't you take a step back for women and just, you know, fuck your way to the top, like, and stop, like, you know, ruining the progress women have made. I know this was the 90s, but Jesus Christ, like, you know, like, damn, throwing herself, can I stay the night? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, he's not even attractive, you know? So I just kind of laughed at that. But it really shows you how the power he has and the lore around him, I guess, makes the panties drop. I don't know. So it was just very, very weird. I don't know. Also, I thought it was interesting hearing him talk about you never get used to losing one of your own. It's easier with the mundanes. Like, I didn't like that whole thing. I'm like, that's kind of shitty, but I can understand where he was saying, like, when you see one of your own that you care for, that's like a family to you, and they die, it's harder to accept that or whatever. So again, that was another point where I just felt like it humanized him a little bit more. So yeah, a lot of background on him in this episode, and I just thought it was really cool to see that.
Kevin,
you certainly get quite an insight into their thinking in a private moment with each other, where they have, you know, a safe space to say whatever vile crap they want. You also have the dynamic of seeing that he's not, you know, the leader of Psychor. He does not have the most power in the organization, but he's pretty high up and fairly legendary. It's clear that he's well known within the Psychor. He's respected. He gets a lot of the, you know, the plum assignments, and you know, he does the, you know, the investigation stuff that gets him some prominence, and, you know, he probably does well with it, which is why he's trusted with that by the leadership. Did anyone else get the impression that when the Lauren character came on to him, that he turning her down was not a forever turning down, it was just this time?
Yeah, he said that.
That was the impression that I got.
There was no impression. He flat out said, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because then at the end of the episode, she's like, "I'm gonna rub your feet or massage
Give
or
you a back
something."
rub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you don't have to do that." And it's like, "Yeah, okay. You don't have any real objection to going after a student or letting them pursue you. You just don't want to be seen as giving in a little too quickly. You want to reel them in a little bit more." He's a real slimy jackass.
Well, remember too, though, that, and I'm not defending, but
No, of course not.
Psychor likes breeding, and you
Right.
have 2 P12s. Knock some
Right.
boots, make some P12s. Have a
Right.
nice day, Jessi.
Or don't. That's fine too. First of all, shout out to Nicole for making the panties drop. Like, we need to kind of own in on that one. But so with her, at first, it seemed to me initially it was just an honest crush. Like, she was just hitting on him to like, oh, he's cute and da 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 da. But the more you see her throughout the episode, I'm like, oh, this bitch is evil. Like, she's really, really a bad person. And then she just sealed her deal with like spacing. She just like dumped this dude out the freaking lock, and he just like goes flying. And I'm like, my husband goes, "What's happening?" I was like, well, she just killed that guy. Like, he's now tumbling through space for how long. So it was the whole episode. It made me, every time she was on the screen, I was focused on her. So I'll tell you, she was in my opinion, I think she was a good character, a good like actress. She did what she was looking to do, and she let it be known through her acting skills without saying it throughout the episode that she was an evil person. So I don't know. She was I wouldn't say it a bright spot, because like Scott said, I'm not trying to defend anything that these fuckers are doing, but it was kind of strange to, when she's in a scene with Bester. I wasn't watching Bester, which you know how we all feel about Bester. I hate him, but the actor is amazing, right? So it was definitely interesting to me today.
Nicole.
2 things. I want to kind of reply to something Jessi said, and I have another point. I thought she was very calculated as the episode went on. Like, you saw, like Jessi was saying, that she was like, I'm going to get in good with this guy. However, I need to get in good with this guy. Like, she wanted to impress him with spacing the guy. Like, she was, yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Jessi. But what I was also going to bring up too, when we watched the 2 guys that were in the training exercise that were trying to block the one guy and he was trying to attack him or whatever, and they showed like the visual of that was freaky. Like, did anyone else think that was just fucking scary and weird?
Nicole, did it look like anything to you when you watched it?
It looked like tentacles trying to get him. Like,
yeah, but what kind of tentacles?
Yeah, like shadows. Yeah, it was weird, man.
Yeah, it was a callback to the fact that the Vorlons and the Shadows have been jacking with us. So
yeah.
You got the Shadows and you got the little Vorlon.
Yeah, it freaked me out. So I just wanted to bring that part up too, because that was like really weird. But it was interesting to hear like how they will do that so they can sustain an hour of that attack or whatever. So that was kind of interesting to learn too. And it's kind of interesting to see how they get there, because Lita blocked them, plenty of times, and you didn't really see anything. It was just like them staring at each other. But this was a visual representation of that, and it was freaky.
So I think it's interesting watching the recruits. One was, I could definitely see where she may have been a bit calculating in how she was trying to impress Bester and doing everything as far as basically offering to drop the panties and dropping the mundane out the airlock. She was pretty much up for dropping just about anything. But the one that seemed to be a little bit over-eager was Chin. I mean, he's the one that was like going out of his way to kiss Bester's ass, and pretty sure he might have dropped panties too for Bester if that was an opportunity, considering how much he was trying to break the rules and not follow the instructions so that he could try to impress Bester. So I think that's the one that was definitely a little bit more over-eager. But as far as how she was doing that, I mean, she pulled off that just kind of cold, expressionless, non-emotional thing really well, which was, I think, is why she stole the scene so much, because Bester does have a lot of emotion and a lot of animation in what he does, and she was really the opposite to that, which I think really stood against him in those scenes, which is why I think it worked as well as it did.
Lauren reminded me quite a bit of Veer's psychopath wife from earlier in the show.
Jessi.
So the first time I watched it, I did not catch the evil part of her, but it was what was it today when they were sitting in the craft on the way home, and she had said something, And she's like, I'm ready. And so the first time I watched it, I thought she was talking about rubbing his feet. Like when he's like, how much time do we have? We got 6 hours. I thought it was going somewhere different. When I watched it today, when she said ready, because I guess clearly I already knew what was going to happen. I was like, oh, she's ready to kill this dude. I just thought the killing of the dude was part of this, I don't know. I don't know what I thought, but holy shit. When I watched it today, I was like, oh, she is super evil. So that it was definitely a different viewing, I think, the second time around.
I know this will shock everyone, but I see it differently. She's not evil. She's been indoctrinated, plain and simple.
By evil people?
Yeah, exactly. So from an early age, she has been told, one, mundanes are not like us. So she didn't kill a person by spacing them. In her mind, she killed an ant. They have been told over and over again that telepaths are the true people. So she has been brought up knowing and being told over and over again that these people don't matter. Now, I'm not saying it's right, but she's not evil and she's not calculated. She's been told that you are going to be a psychop. You are P12. You are going to be trained. You're going to be equipped, and you are going to be ready to be a defender of your people. And so when she says she's ready to take out the mundane, she's ready to show Bester that she is able and willing to be that defender of her people like Bester is. And that goes into my second point on that too, is I don't see her trying to sleep with Bester as trying to move up. That's not what it is. She has been indoctrinated to know that this is the quintessential telepath, the person who fights for us, the person who is strong. And if you've ever been in a position of power, you have run into people like this. It happens to where they see you as something that you're not just because of your title or your position, and they want to be close to you. And we talked about this episode a long time ago in Beyond the Rim, and we argued that, well, Bester turned her down. But to Kevin's point, Bester really didn't turn her down. He just wasn't feeling it that night. So that's also a point too. How many people in Psy-Corps do this to people, do this to women or young men? It doesn't matter. They're like, hey, I am your leader. I am your mentor. So she's used to this stuff. I don't see her being cold or calculating or evil. I see her as a tool of the Psy-Corps, unfortunately. Emily.
I was going to make a similar point because it's easy to call them evil because what they do is evil. Mm-hmm. And then once you learn that Bester has been in the Psy-Corps since he was an infant and was trained to be a psychop because of his psi level, it's almost like there was nowhere else for him to go. That's who he was going to be. That's who they were going to make him be. And I did find it interesting that one of the interns was a woman, because I think it gives a different perspective on the women in Psy-Corps. Because, we've had Talia, and then we find out she had evil Talia somewhere in her brain that had to be activated, but she wasn't a psychop. She was doing business deals. And I don't recall seeing women psychops before, so I thought adding her as one of the interns made it more interesting and provided us more info that might have been nice earlier, or at least more made for a better episode earlier.
Kevin.
We've seen a couple of female psychops before in the show, even partnered with Bester a couple of times. But I got to respond to what Scott said, because it just seems to me that what's the difference between Bester, who's grown up in the Corps, that you would easily call evil? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, so perhaps you have a different perspective.
I have never once called Bester evil, but knock yourself out.
Oh, no. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's just interesting to me that you're kind of taking away some of her agency and saying that she's not evil, that she's been indoctrinated. She's old enough to know the difference and be evil all on her own without having the indoctrination be something that keeps her from making her own choices at her age. I just don't see it that way. I mean, she was clearly ready to kill somebody at the end of the episode. And yeah, you can say all day long that it's part of her indoctrination, but she was still more than willing to do it. And it seemed like a ton of it was to impress Bester. Not completely, but certainly a big part of it was to impress Bester. So I don't think that her calculation was just to move up in Psy-Corps. I think that she she sees him as kind of an idol, and she's ready to be all over him if he'll let her.
I love that you made every argument for me on that.
That's not what happens.
She's like, she's not calculating. She just sees him as an idol. I just said that she looks at people with power and leadership as people who should be idolized.
Yeah, but you said it was all to move up. I don't think that.
I said the exact opposite. Nicole said it was to move up in the organization. I said it wasn't.
Okay, pardon me.
I said she wasn't calculating. She wasn't trying to advance. So you're mingling two people.
Okay.
But just real quick, Mike is like freaking out.
I said you're both agreeing, and it's scary.
Doesn't make sense. I don't know that we are, but okay.
I think you are. It's
Kevin thought I was Nicole. Was the confusing part?
Easy mistake to make on here.
You wish, Scott. You wish.
They all sound alike on this podcast.
Damn all these women that sound alike.
Wow.
I think Blake just called me a woman. No, but the one thing I want to say to you, Kevin, real quick, and then we'll keep going, is Bester is just as indoctrinated. We found out when he was a baby, and we actually know more if you read the side material, and I think actually we'll tell the newbies about this episode because it never comes up. And I'll do that after one's done talking. But he was recruited as a baby. So he's just as much a victim of Psy-Corps as Lauren is. That's what I'm getting at is, Psy-Corps does take away your agency. That's the whole point of the Nazi movement of I won't say far right because I'll get yelled at, but they take away your agency. That's the whole point. Jessi.
Absolutely not. Okay. So I don't agree. Kevin had one thing that I did agree with, and it was she's an adult who has to know better from right to wrong. She took pleasure from killing that person. And what bothers me is when you determine an evil person, when you talk about is somebody evil, you talk about opportunity versus intent. She is raised to have the opportunity to do all of these things. When she gains the intent and moves forward and acts on that opportunity, that is what makes, in my opinion, that's what makes somebody evil. So she absolutely was raised blah, blah, blah. You take a big portion of America who was raised in a certain religion, who was taught to hate basically every fucking buddy, even though it goes against their book that they love so much. And you tell them, well, because you were raised like this, it's okay to hate A, B, and C. But when you get to a point, you have got to either do better or don't be better. That's how that works. Like you're either going to be the person that hates the A's, the B's, the C's, the theys, the thems, the people that don't look like us, or you educate yourself and you do better. And she took pleasure in killing that man. Now that they didn't teach that in the Corps. They taught that one is better than the other, but then you're talking about murdering a living individual. You cannot tell me that that's okay. Nobody is talking about murder being great. And then with Bester does things to benefit himself. That's what makes him evil. Bester sits there and does, he was raised A, B, and C, but he does things that benefit his own good, not just for the Corps. So that's why I think Bester's evil. I think all them bitches are evil. Fuck them all.
Speaking of evil bitches, Mike.
I don't know, man. I don't know that I agree with some of this. Like, I guess my perspective on it is simply this. If you are raised, especially from a really young age, inside of the cult, and you are taught your entire formative life certain rules, like non-telepaths are essentially the goats that they feed to the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, then you don't think twice about whether you kill one or not. And that doesn't, I'm not sure if I can say whether that makes you evil or not. I'm not sure if I can really say that you're supposed to know better, because if you don't spend enough time away from the cult, learning and absorbing other opinions, getting other non-curated things taught to you, that education component you talked about, how are you ever going to know better? How is your moral compass ever going to be different than what you've been taught?
So they're just in the Corps teaching everybody, just mow down everybody that doesn't look like you?
Yeah,
more or less. That is exactly what they're doing.
See, okay.
So where did we learn this about them killing everybody that isn't a telepath?
We saw in this episode. They're mundane.
In season 5?
In this episode.
Season 5 we learned that?
In this episode, we learned it.
Yeah, the fact
In
that
season
they
5,
call
correct?
them mundanes.
This episode is in season 5.
So that means that we learned that in season 5, yes or no?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Fully,
Moving on.
yes.
But I mean, yeah, the fact that they're called mundanes is the dehumanizing part of that. They're not us, they're less than us. And I was going to say this earlier. Think of how fucked up it is that even within the telepath society, bubble, cult, whatever, you are given a P rating, and you cannot tell me that your P rating doesn't somehow make a 12 feel superior to a 5. Like, it's if their entire societal telepath structure is based on I'm better than everyone with a lower number than me.
So does that mean they can kill the 5s?
It doesn't make it right to anybody on the outside.
It doesn't make it right.
But if I was raised on the inside and I don't know any better,
They wouldn't kill the 5s because they're telepaths. They wouldn't kill the 5s.
Well, but the 5, it depends, because even JMS kind of touched on this in some of the commentary, is when it has that comment about the number of telepaths that commit suicide after they leave the Corps.
46%.
What they don't clarify is, are these, Boeing whistleblower suicides? Or are these, they actually off themselves suicides?
That's a good point.
I'm starting conspiracy hour early. So, so there is that question. Would they kill a rogue telepath? Because they would have killed Byron.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll hands down kill a rogue. Absolutely.
But
so
even then,
it's less the number and more the, are you with the program and abiding by their little rules and structure, or are you not?
But even with Byron, I know we had an argument. Half the folks thought that Bester was making it up, and half the folks actually thought he had emotion there. I'm one of the ones who thought he was actually in shock that Byron killed himself. I don't think Bester wanted to kill Byron or any of those people. He wanted to show them the wrongness of their ways and bring them back, which, as we clearly see, also includes a little bit of brainwashing. But
torture.
Yeah, that's fine as long as
that's
they're
not
back.
evil. No, you're right.
No,
you guys are killing me.
Jesus, Jessi, you're stuck on this evil thing. Okay,
well, that's what your point was. You said I don't think she's evil. That's why
I think she was indoctrinated. I think the Psi Corps is evil.
I don't think human
that's
beings inherently know natural instinct what good and evil is. I think it has an awful lot to do with nurture, not nature.
I love that this episode turned us into a nature versus nurture argument. I love it.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll say about the difference between Lauren and Bester is that Bester's been out there in the world a heck of a lot more. So I'm much less willing to give him any sort of sympathy for his views than I would be for her, because my guess is she's been out there almost nothing.
That's a good point, Kevin. I like that.
I back that up.
Mike, the one thing I was going to say to you as well, too, and you mentioned the dinosaurs. And I want to preface by saying I don't think hunters are murderers when I say this, but a lot of people are, from young life, are told that hunting is important, hunting is good, so they wouldn't bat an eye at shooting a buck. I could not shoot a deer if my life depended on it.
Nope.
That's because I have been trained to think differently than hunters.
At the same time, I'm totally okay with eating a hamburger, and all the vegetarians
100%.
out there are screaming at us right now.
100% I will eat venison. It's so good, but I will not shoot it. Nicole, sorry. Go for it.
That's okay. 2 things. One, I just want to comment on something Blake touched on. The telepaths would 100% kill their own if they didn't comply. And they've done it before, and we've seen it. So the telepaths definitely don't give a fuck, and they will off you if you don't fucking comply. So they are 100% a cult. So that is just my thoughts there. But one thing I wanted to add about Lauren, Scott, something you said, she's a tool for the Psi Corps or whatever, and like he's the leader and she wants to be close to him. So because someone's your leader, that means you have to fuck them. Like, do you know what I mean?
He's a rock star.
No,
he's a psychop rock star.
But here's the thing to me, okay? Like,
welcome to Logical Fallacies with Nicole. Have a nice day.
Here's the thing. Like, just because he's her leader and she idolizes him doesn't mean she needs to have sex with him. In my mind, I'm looking at it, that is how she's calculating, because she wants to sleep with him and get close to him. And who knows, maybe she wants to manipulate him, because don't tell me women have not used sex to manipulate a man before. It has happened. And don't tell me men don't manipulate women. It's a thing. So in my mind, I think that was what was calculating about her. She's using her tool to gain something from him, whether it is advancement, maybe a little bit of control over him, maybe a little bit of favoritism, because if it comes down to it and he has to pick and choose, he's going to take the side of the person who's given it up to him over somebody else. So that is where I think she was calculating. And I did not like that. I thought, you know what? There's better ways to get ahead than try to fuck this homie who's not even attractive.
I think that, Nicole, I'm fascinated how many times you said that Walter Koenig is not attractive. Because I think part of this is if he was a sexier man, I wonder what your reaction would have been.
No, I still don't think you should sleep your way to the top. I don't think that's the way to fucking get ahead. I mean, there's a Lana Del Rey song. Story time, very brief. There's a song by Lana Del Rey called I Fucked My Way to the Top. And it's a satirical song because people kept saying that she got advanced and she succeeded and she's got a record deal because she slept with everyone. And she didn't. So she said, you know what? Fuck you. And she made a song called I Fucked My Way to the Top. And it's hilarious because it's not true. But she's like, if you want to fucking say that, here you go. Here's the hit song, you know? So it doesn't matter who it is. Like, I think that it was calculating on her part to want to use that to gain some sort of access or something.
Well, here's the thing, Nicole. I don't think good looking has anything to do with it. Because I mean,
no.
Look at half these, old ugly fuckers with trophy
who have
wives.
hot chicks.
The number of women
exactly.
that want to, bang Mick Jagger. Because I'm sorry, Mick Jagger's not that.
No, he's the crypt keeper. He's the crypt keeper. Come at me, Rolling Stones fans. I don't care. But that's the point. Is like she's using the one thing that she knows she has is she's got a vagina. And she wants to use it to gain something out of him. And that is calculating to me. Whether or not she was raised and indoctrinated and this and that, she wasn't indoctrinated to sleep her way to the top or sleep her way around to gain something.
Or maybe she was.
I mean, but is all of Psychor doing that, though? Like, did Talia fuck her way to her level? Like, I mean, but I'm saying, though, like... That's a sex cult. We're not getting into that.
And Nicole, I'm gonna stop beating this dead horse, I swear. But I feel like you are definitely black and white. If somebody is attracted to power, it's because they are trying to move up. And I'm telling you, that's not always the case. Jessi.
Point one. She's really fucking stupid if she thinks that Bester is going to be swayed in any way to like prefer to do something because she slept with him, because that dude has no fucking feelings, i.e. he's evil. You're all welcome. Two, I've met a lot of rock stars in my previous life as something I won't talk about. I met lots of famous people, lots of rock stars. No, that's my current position. Thank you.
Sorry.
So in my previous position, I met lots of famous people. I didn't fuck them. It's weird and it's strange, and maybe it's because I wasn't raised in Psychor, but it's strange to me. It's a strange concept, but I digress.
I mean, same though, Jessi. I've hung out on tour buses with rock stars. I had no desire to sleep with them. I just wanted to drink and party with them.
Right.
But are you denying that it is a thing that happens?
No, absolutely not.
And I think it's stupid. I think that's a really poor way to get ahead.
Right.
But oh man.
But if you were raised in a Rolling Stones cult,
it's not always about getting ahead.
It is about getting some sort of head, Scott.
Okay, well that's true. That's true.
Sorry, I had to.
It's not
we were dancing around that joke for a while.
No.
But seriously, I mean, it's not always about that.
I guess.
I'm just going to go on record as saying that wasn't my read on it. My read on it was that she had the rock star hots for Bester, and it went no further than that. But the opposite side of it had never occurred to me until tonight when we're talking about it. And I could see it. I'm not going to say I know either way. I could see the point that maybe in her own way, just as Chen was eager to go knock that door and steal credit for the arrest, maybe in her own way, that was her move as well. I don't know. I see both possibilities now.
Emily.
So I don't know if she's actually trying to get promotion or whatever her deal is, but we do know that Psychor does place a lot of emphasis on like the next generation of telepaths and wanting more. So if she's grown up in this from a young age, she is likely to have the mindset of being a woman. I need to help create the next generation, because how else you can birth them unless they have technology we haven't discussed yet. So it might not be about her trying to get promotion, but more her thinking about the next generation and like ensuring the continuation of telepaths with higher ratings.
All I can see is Scott's arm and his artificial insemination gestures.
The Psychor turkey baster. Here we go.
I meant like outside a womb, like a human womb, you freak. I wasn't talking about that.
I was thinking of the Jakar method.
Man, and Justin's not here to chime in about Battlestar Galactica's episode The Farm.
Oh, yes. We need you, Justin. We need you, buddy.
Somehow the Cylon robots were trying to have sex, make another generation of Cylon. That season where the writing stopped.
Exactly. That season where they thought they were going to have 3 seasons and they got 5. Shit. Okay. So we haven't talked at all about Harris yet, but before we do that, I mentioned that we have talked about Bester before on Beyond the Rim and talked about his backstory. The reason why we haven't talked about it here is because of this episode. You're going to get a little more out of this episode. But after this, honestly, the more Bester backstory you're going to find is going to be in old novels that you can't even buy anymore unless they're used. So I don't feel like this is spoiling anything. So really, Bester's background is what he said, kinda. So he was found after an accident, quote unquote accident, and brought to the Corps because of a DNA test, because his parents died in the accident. Actually, what truly happened was his parents, his mother being the granddaughter of the founder of Psi-Corps, his parents were resistance folks. They were fighting Psi-Corps. They had Bester as a child, and actually he was named Stephen Kevin Dexter, or Little Steve. And his parents were murdered, and it was made to look like an accident. And he was brought up in the Corps. So kind of, sort of, little bit what he said, but he has a little bit more of a background. And we learn a lot more in books, but sadly those books have not become shows. So here we are. Let's go ahead and dive into the other side of this little drama, and that is our good friend Harris, the Jessi, I don't want to say the split multiple personality guy because you're too woke for that.
The DID guy.
Thank you. The DID guy. Thank you very much. Nicole, go for it.
So am I the only person that thought he had a keeper at first?
Yeah.
Because he kept saying, okay, yeah. Because
he's like, no.
Sorry,
he kept saying,
no, you're not the only one.
Thank you. Because he was like, you're going to make him mad and he doesn't like this. I was like, oh, does he have a keeper? Can the keepers go to... So like in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, he's got a keeper. Keepers can get telepaths? Oh my God. And then at the end, when they realized that it was the DID, then I was like, okay, that makes sense. So... which was almost more scary than him having a keeper, you know? But I guess that would be maybe a premature question, but can telepaths get keepers? Because that's what I thought. Like almost the entire episode, I thought he had a keeper.
Anyone else on anything? No.
Fuck the fucking telepaths. Let's move on.
I do have a question for you all, aside from thinking he has a keeper. How did you feel about the reveal of Harris having... this mental health issue, when in fact you probably already knew he had that from the first time you saw him? It kind of annoyed the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I won't say it necessarily annoyed me, but to me it had some callbacks a little bit to Talia, because the way they even did this is the identities had different key abilities in this also, is the way it kind of came across. So it kind of then goes back. So when they got Talia after the original personality flipped off and it went to this new, bitch Talia, was Jason Ironheart's gift lost in that? Because Talia, who was the nice, wanted to get it on with Ivanova Talia, had that gift from Jason Ironheart with the telekinesis bit. But did that all get erased? Because when you look at this and you've got Harris with this dissociative identity disorder, but each of the identities has its own abilities and they're different abilities. Like one is more powerful than the other on the psi ability. So I found that part interesting with that personally.
Nicole.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting because as you saw, he had like the different handwriting and like each personality was a different level, right? So I actually felt bad for his like original person, like the guy who was like, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Like I kind of felt bad for him, like his like normal, like I don't want to say normal like personality, but his dominant personality, because I feel like he didn't seem like a bad guy. Like he seemed genuinely like, I don't know what happened, and like at the end when he was cowering in the corner and like when they got him and stuff like that, I actually kind of felt bad for him because I feel like he was completely out of control of the other personalities that were taking over, and then I thought they're probably going to kill this guy, like, because they kind of talked about how it had happened before, but they didn't say what they did about it. I know if someone has a mental illness like that, there's medications to treat it and there's things like that. But like, this is a completely different situation. So how do they treat that? What do they do? Do they just put him out to pasture like Old Yeller, or do they like treat him? I was actually concerned about what was going to happen to him next, and I felt kind of bad for him, to be honest. But I thought it was also fascinating that each personality had its own handwriting, its own identity, its own name, its own power, its own level. Like that's fucking wild writing.
For me, the reason why I said it annoyed me is just because I felt like it was telegraphed. I felt like the audience was knowing stuff before Bester and everyone else was. Like watching him say he 3 times over and over. Rewind again. I'm like, dude, we already know this. And it was just annoying me. And it kind of annoyed me just as knowing JMS is a mystery writer because he wrote a lot of a season of Murder, She Wrote. It just kind of frustrated me.
I wonder if that was a product of the times, though, because I do kind of remember vaguely having this notion of like in the 90s, there was a time period when the whole multiple personalities thing became like sort of the in vogue trend on TV. I don't know if something happened in real life that spurred it, but you know, I'm sure there was like a Law and Order episode about it around that same time period or something. You know what I'm saying? And now it's become like a little bit more of a known thing to all of us, and so the telegraphing feels more overt.
Sybil with when did that come out? There was a book about a woman. I thought her name was Sybil.
Oh yeah, that movie came out like in late 80s. So before this.
Still, just makes me wonder if it's one of those things that just didn't age as well as we think. But I'd also comment that I always do find these episodes, and oddly enough, the one that comes to mind, I can't think of the specific episode name, but I know that it was a really late episode in the final season of TNG, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Masks.
Possibly, but it's the same kind of thing where you find these episodes where they're trying to unroll a mystery, and it's like really, really hard to, you either do one of two things. You telegraph it way too hard, and then at the ending, everybody's like, well, yeah, duh, we knew that already. Or you completely bury it, and this is what I'm remembering the TNG episode did, is they completely buried it, and they kept building up this mystery, and then in the last 10 minutes, 5 minutes, the Scooby-Doo reveal was like something that nobody could have ever possibly guessed. And it was like, well, that was stupid. Like, what? Like, part of the fun of a mystery is me trying to figure it out. And then just from left field, you introduce the new alien of the week that does the thing that was magic. And now, so I don't know. These kinds of murder mystery episodes are a tough nut to crack, I guess.
I'm sorry. You were talking about Eye of the Beholder. Masks is the one with the multiple personality data.
Thanks, Kevin. I was trying to make sure I never remembered Masks ever because it's from season 7.
You know, as a acting resume for Brett Spiner, I thought he was pretty good in that episode, even though he ate some of the scenery in a couple of those.
Well, this would have been a few years also. A couple years after the episode of Deep Space Nine where Dax had the previous host that resurfaced.
That's right.
And they went through that whole same mystery thing.
And maybe this is where I'm getting maybe this is where I'm getting that thing about there was a time period when the multiple personalities thing was everywhere.
You're absolutely right about that.
Definitely.
In the 80s and 90s sci-fi, it was all over the place.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks for ruining Total Recall for me. I'm kidding.
No one can ruin Total
Recall. Does that mean Total Recall, DS9? Even Sequest, if I'm not mistaken, had a storyline along the same way. So you're absolutely right. That's kind of early, mid, late 90s period had this all over the place.
Don't spoil it, Blake. That's the next show we're going to do.
Sequest.
Don't worry, anybody that's not seen it is not listening anymore. So.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Nicole has been waiting here patiently for us to get past Star Trek. So let's go ahead and let Nicole
I didn't mean to go off on a whole very
okay.
Star Trek-centric tangent there.
Well, this is your fault, so don't get mad at me for bringing this up. Mike, this is your fault because you mentioned it. But okay, so sci-fi though is not the only genre that used multiple personality episodes. So for example,
Law and Order.
Yes. So there is a Law and Order SVU episode with Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City where she plays a woman who has multiple personalities, and she's like an archaeologist, and then she's like this lady, she's like a Russian lady, and then she's like a scared little girl. And at the end of the episode, she goes to Stabler's house and holds his pregnant wife hostage with a big butcher knife. And it was kind of one of those things where as the whole episode went on, you're screaming at the TV, come on, this is, so it's kind of interesting because I feel like you can either do it really well or not do it really well. Well, it turns out the whole time on this episode, she was faking it. So it was actually done quite well. But anyway, Jessi might actually know this. One thing Jessi might know that I'm bringing up is SVU. I don't know. If
was she evil in the episode?
Yeah, she was. She fucking went to the guy's house with a butcher knife and tried to kill his pregnant wife. So, but anyway, but it was really interesting because when you were talking, Mike, and when you guys were talking about all this, that's what I thought of, because I was like, I've seen it both ways where it's been like really obvious and the character didn't get it, but I've seen it where it was like they got it right away, but it was kind of like not, it was kind of like fake. So it's really interesting to see like that play out and like hear you guys be kind of annoyed because he like, I didn't get that at all. I thought it was a keeper. So, I mean, so for me, I totally interpreted it a different way. I just thought I would bring that up because if you can bring up Star Trek or Star whatever you're talking about, I can bring up SVU. But it was also relatable. So
once again, I did not ever suspect the keeper things. I mean, you're not invalid for coming up with that possibility. It was.
I mean, it could be completely dumb, but
that's what I read.
Thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Do we not want to talk about how Zach Allen was a dick the entire episode?
I loved it.
Okay. Here we go. So Zach's a complete dick, but because you like Zach, it's okay.
No, you know what it is about Zach and Bester? I kind of like their banter because Bester gives it right back to him. You know what I mean? Like, and then also too with Franklin, like I feel like Franklin and Bester had a moment. Franklin was genuinely saying, well, I'm a doctor, so I don't want you to get hurt, or I don't want you to. And Bester's like, let's face it, you don't like me. So then Bester said something snarky to him and they kind of had a going back and forth. So I thought it was kind of entertaining to me. Not like, oh, yay, but like, I just like that they kind of give it to each other, And I do think Franklin genuinely, even if he doesn't like Bester or what he does or telepaths, he is a doctor and he doesn't want him to leave like hurt or, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was kind of a sweet moment between them two. And then Bester was like, come on, but I do think he was smiling at the end of it. Bester was, whether it was a genuine smile or not. I thought that was a genuine kind of moment between them. And again, it just humanized Bester a little bit, which I hate that it humanized him. It made me like him a little bit more, but it did.
So was the most humanizing part when he let her throw the other guy out the airlock? Was that the most humanizing part?
No, just like the way that he interacted with, I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain because I hate him and I don't agree with anything he does. But learning more about it made me like him a little bit more. It's kind of fucked up. I don't really know how to describe it.
This is why you don't name the lobsters when you're
you love to hate them. Yeah, it's like you love to hate it.
Jessi.
I think there's a marked difference between somebody being an asshole because they've been treated poorly and somebody enjoying killing somebody. So piss off, everybody. Please and thank you.
Piss off, everybody. Mike?
Well, where do I go from that?
I don't know, but try.
Well, okay. So I thought it was interesting having Zach be one of the focal characters in this episode. And not focal. He was a tertiary character, but it was interesting because at the same time as, Bester's telling his interns about how, humans are all the normal mundanes. They don't care about us. They think we're blah, blah, blah. But like Zach is actually an example that kind of sort of disproves that because he certainly hates Bester and he certainly has feelings about Psychor, but he might be one of the only guys on the station that actually like really cared for Lita and so kind of disproves like Bester's theory about him. He doesn't like telepaths. He's essentially a racist. Like, no, actually Zach's not. And I kept waiting for them to point that out, I thought for 1 second that Franklin was going to come to Zach's defense, and then they didn't.
Kevin,
I just want to say I'm here for Zach being an asshole to Bester because every time Bester shows up, it makes Zach's job a hell of a lot harder. And so why would he be happy to see him? Why wouldn't he treat him like garbage? Because Bester has always treated everyone on the station like garbage, especially security. So why would Zach be nice to him? There's no point in him being nice to him at all.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you, Kevin. I think what I was referring to was when he said like, so a telepath died. How is this bad? ?
Yeah, okay, that wasn't great.
That wasn't great. We've all said terrible things, but I'm just saying that was kind of dickish.
Okay.
Nicole.
One thing that Mike said that I kind of wanted to kind of talk about too a little bit was about how like I wish that they would have shown the interns that there are some humans that actually care about some telepaths. Like, Zach did care about Lita. Franklin tried to help that young guy who was found, the guy who didn't talk, and like there's been other telepaths that were part of Byron's group that Franklin really tried to help. Like the guy they took out and told him to go out there and throw the stuff at them when they tried to breach. Franklin was trying to help him and didn't want him to go. Like they didn't want him to send him out there. Like, so like I feel like not all the humans hate inherently the telepaths. I think some of them actually care for them as living beings. Are they going to be besties or trust them fully? Probably not, but like they wouldn't wish them any harm, if that makes sense. So I feel like Bester feeding these interns like that, oh, they hate us, da da da. I just think that like that perpetuates the, you know, mundanes are nothing and they're less than us kind of cycle, if you will. But I feel like if they were to get out there more and see more, they would see that that's not necessarily the case. And like they weren't in the room when Bester and Franklin had their little moment, right?
Okay, we'll go ahead and move into our questions and predictions. And for those who are just joining us for the first time, our newbies, as I mentioned, have not watched past this episode. So we're going to ask them if they have any lingering questions or if they have any predictions about what's going to happen next. And let's go to Emily first. Questions and prediction.
No, not really. I'm still kind of annoyed that you have a murderous telepath on B5 and Lockley is nowhere to be found and they don't even mention it. Like why she's not there or informed.
Okay.
Unless they mentioned it and I missed it.
Absolutely fucking mentioned it.
Did they?
Yeah, when Bester goes on the station, he's like, I should go check in with the commander. And then he's like, she's busy, so check in with me. So he didn't have to go to Lockley because she was busy.
And no one else talked to her. Okay.
It's because they didn't want to pay for Tracy Scoggins to be in the episode.
I know. But no.
That it?
No questions, no predictions.
Excellent. Jessi.
No.
Son of a bitch. We'll see y'all next week.
Have fun on your fucking after the show podcast, fuckers.
I'm still here.
I'm still here. Nicole, questions.
Yes, I have questions. Thank you.
Yay!
Okay, so what are they going to do with Harris now that they have him in custody and they're taking him back to Psycor? Are they going to kill him? Or are they going to help him? Or are they going to drug him up and lock him away? Like, what's the deal with that? And then who the hell was the guy that got spaced? Was he just a random thug on B5 that like teamed up with Harris? Or was he, did they have did they know each other beforehand? Like, that was really random. He just creepily followed him around.
He was like watching him make money. And so this guy's like, oh, this guy can make money, which means I can make money.
Okay. So he just randomly found him. They didn't know each other before. Okay. Is this Lauren going to be a recurring character? Or was it just a one episode kind of thing? Are we going to have more issues with the telepaths? I mean, obviously I know there's a telepath war, but like, are we going to see more Bester on B5? What's going to happen there? Prediction wise, I honestly don't have any because every week I leave and I'm like, I really don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, obviously I feel like they're moving things along a little bit, but like I've thought one thing and we've been thrown a curveball before. So I kind of really am at a point where I really don't know what to expect, especially that we're winding down towards the end.
Speaking of winding down towards the end, we have a few months left until we are to the end of this journey through 5 seasons. I mentioned last week we do have a couple more movies coming up as well too, but just want to say thank you to all of our audience as you continue to go with us down this little bit of a rabbit hole that we found ourselves in. One cool number I want to throw out is we have had, and this is just crazy to me, since we started, guys, we have been listened to a total of 119,000 hours.
Wow.
Dear God, that's too many hours of us.
That's not enough, baby. Listen more. Bring it on.
So if you're doing the math, because I may have, that means that we have been listened to a grand total of 4,966 days straight.
Hell yeah.
How many years is that?
Please hold. 13 years.
You're welcome.
Mike's like, interesting. You just wanted me to do the math.
No, that is really cool. I when I said it's not enough, I mean, that's awesome. But
no, don't backpedal, Nicole. Don't backpedal. Take on your evil nature.
I appreciate it, but I want more. What can I say? I'm like Ariel. I want more. That was for you, Mike, since where you just went.
Yes. God.
Okay. Well, you can give us more by making sure that you like, subscribe, follow, and leave a review so more people can find us. Season 5, we've seen a little bit of a drop-off, which I'm not surprised by. especially when the Vorlons and Shadows are gone, and they are scary. So please be sure to share as well as we get closer to the end of this thing. We've got some more surprises coming your way. We just dropped our Jason Carter interview. I'm working on some more stuff as well, too. So definitely stick with us as we try to bring this thing into a landing, unlike Delta, who just can't get their flights off the ground.
Womp, womp.
Womp, womp, womp. So we will go ahead and leave our newbies behind here, and then we'll be back after to talk Beyond the Rim, except for Jessi is yelling at me quietly.
No, I'm not. I'm not even on mute.
Because I always forget, and I want everyone, because we are not a visual podcast, I want everyone to know that right now Jessi is sitting in front of her mic, and behind her there is a white flag with a cute sparrow. The sparrow has a red no logo, like you think Ghostbusters, but with a sparrow. And it says, "Birds are not real." And Jessi, I do believe you have some conspiracy for us.
Somebody screenshot that so you can post it on the Facebook page.
Please hold.
Okay. Did you do it?
Now I did.
Okay, perfect. All right. This one is going to probably light our entire podcast on fire. I'm sorry I've ended it today, guys. Let's move on. Okay. The very first one, I have 3. So, 3.5. Very first one is the abominable snowman is alive and well. He or she lives in Asia. The Loch Ness monster is also alive and well, and he or she or them.
Yeah, why are you genderizing?
In Scotland. That's why I said them. They could be theys and thems too. Okay.
Could be an amphibian. It could be whatever it wants to be.
And here come the woke comments yet again.
Right. They live in Scotland. And the third pertains to the recent attempted assassination on the former president. There are 2 main conspiracy theories regarding this one. One, it was an order, besides it being staged, because unfortunately people actually lost their lives. One is it was an order given by the CIA, and two, it was an order given by Biden, and since it failed, that's why he dropped out of the race. My head almost fucking exploded.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
If you're thinking right now that you need a comment, just don't. Just don't.
I do have one more little thing that I would like to add to my segment, since it is my segment. On our podcast, I'm going to do a would you rather question. So this is what I want you to respond to. If you've listened to this point, please and thank you. Other than Nicole's outstanding statement she made earlier about panties. Okay, would you rather have your thoughts broadcast on your forehead or always answer honestly when somebody asks how you're doing? Let us know in the comments.
For me, absolutely 100% number 2.
Yeah. Same.
Wait, what were the 2 choices?
Some bourbon and number 2 is not a problem.
So the first choice is have your thoughts broadcast on your forehead, i.e. be punched in your fucking forehead every fucking day that you're alive, or always answer honestly when somebody asks how you're doing.
I'm always doing shitty. I can tell you that right now.
I was going to say, I pretty much
do number 2 anyway.
Yeah. Well, although to be fair, Kanye does number 1, and he has like a lot of money for some reason. So,
right.
Speaking of Nazis, wait.
Yeah, damn. What's funny, Jessi, is I do a Would You Rather segment on the radio every day on my show, and that a very similar question to that was asked a couple weeks ago, where it was like, would you rather everyone know your inner thoughts or never be able to share what you feel again? And everyone was like, yeah, number 2, because I don't want anyone to know what I'm really thinking.
I want to tell them I'm fine all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. It's your fault for looking. It's just like walking around nude in front of my window. I mean,
if you don't fucking like it, look away.
Yeah, if you don't want to see me eat Cheerios with my dick out, then don't look in my window.
Oh my God, Mike. Dude, never mind.
You're supposed to use a spoon, Mike.
In my head, I just have thoughts of him throwing it up and trying to catch it.
That's what I'm saying.
No!
Like a ring toss.
You don't know. Maybe Mike doesn't need to throw it up. He just
like a ring toss.
Cheerios ring toss at Mike's house.
Oh my God.
Lawn darts with Mike.
Okay, I didn't expect this. Well, I should have, but I did not.
So what we've learned today is that everyone is evil. Mike has a long schlong.
Not everyone.
And birds aren't real.
No, what we really learned is I came up with this because I used to live in my old house. We had some neighbors who were very old and had a very active sex life and no curtains. So,
Jesus.
How old?
How many times did you watch?
Enough. to the first question enough to the how many times never deliberately.
Let's be honest. You had a lawn chair set up.
Binoculars.
Right. He would set up his recorder so that when he did miss it, he could go back and watch.
Oh, Billy got his Viagra today. It's going to be a good one.
My stomach literally hurts from laughing so
Mike,
hard.
how much have you contributed to Pornhub categories from your former neighbors?
Is that what I've been watching? Yes.
That would be illegal because I would have to cut them in.
If you're watching old fucker porn, Mike may be your hookup.
No.
God damn it.
Old fucker.
Wow.
How did we get okay, yep.
Well, this went in a different direction than
I don't ask questions I don't want the answer to. So
I know. And
look, a Gray 17 derailed. That's never happened.
This was going to be an hour episode.
Yeah, I was going to try to tell this really touching story about the whole nature versus nurture discussion and some people that I knew, but
I think you've talked about
this is what I
touching
decided
quite
to
enough.
share instead.
I mean, it still involved touching, Mike, so I mean, you're good.
I literally hurt because I'm laughing so hard. Like, I'm in
literally
pain.
hurt. There's a t-shirt for you. I literally
Can we
hurt.
do another Would You Rather? Because this one really went fucking sideways.
There's another live episode right there, Jessi. Would you?
Oh, I know. And that's
Nicole can run it because she does it already.
I have dirty ones and not dirty ones.
Oh, we always go for the dirty.
Yeah.
You know which ones we're doing on the show.
Just
like Mike
does it
watching his
matter
window.
which category with this group? We can pick it. Don't worry.
Right.
This was supposed to be just an hour episode. It was going to be a quick open and shut case.
It never is.
But here we are talking about Mike watching old people fuck while he's got his
my
dick in
God.
his Cheerios. I mean, I don't kink shame, but that one's kind of weird.
We're going to go to Redbubble and create a new shirt that says Gray 17 hurt me. And
Show us on the doll where it touched you.
The doll needs to have tentacles.
Fucking done with you, fucker.
oh my God, we didn't even talk about what the Pac-Maraz hump is.
Oh my God, I totally wrote that down too.
JMS actually answered that question. You want me to tell you what the hump is?
Now we have questions.
It is their mate.
Huh?
They are a species that coexist together at all times. So the
Like an
Pac-Maraz,
anglerfish?
sure, whatever the fuck that is. So the Pac-Maraz have their mate on their back.
That's weird.
Don't shame.
I wouldn't want anyone on my back, but get the fuck off. Pay
I
your
don't even
own
know
way,
what's
bitch.
going on right now. I'm not shaming anybody. I'm trying to process through what you just said. So wait, are the Pac-Maraz always men and the women are on their back? Or
I mean, they could be asexual. I don't know. You're always the one genderizing, Jessi. I don't understand why you're not woke enough.
Somebody on this podcast, and I won't name any names today, assumed a sex of someone, and I was good
And
enough
it was
not
the
to
Loch
pull it
Ness
out.
Monster. Yeah, no.
Wait, isn't the
That's what
Pac-Maraz the
I
ones that eat garbage?
Yeah,
Not
they're
people?
carrion eaters.
Yes.
Okay.
And people?
Yeah, not garbage, dead things. They're carrion eaters. They're like
Yes.
vultures. I kind of like, you ever see a dragonfly, two dragonflies go at it? You know, where they kind of attach and they just kind of fly around.
Never.
Kind of same idea.
Is
I'm
that
always
only
like,
when
yeah.
they're mating, or it's all the time?
It's all the time. They're attached. I don't know if they're actually actively mating. JMS didn't go into much detail because he's not like us. He's not a sick fuck. That's not true. JMS is a sick fuck.
I'm gonna need you to get the fuck off my back, first of all. Let's start there. And we're moving on. So would you rather fight a kangaroo? I'm kidding. Let's go on.
Jesus Christ. Okay, we're going to go ahead and leave the newbies there. And much like Bryce, we're going to exit them out the airlock nicely. And then we will go into our Beyond the Rim and answer these fucking 3 questions that we have. It's going to be great.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nicole.
I love it. I love when Blake looks like this at the end of the podcast.
Okay, so we'll be back next week with the newbies to talk about mediations on the abyss. Until then, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and please, please, please leave a review. And make sure you answer Jessi's question. Would you rather have your thoughts printed on your head at all times? Or would you rather tell people what you feel about yourself when they ask? Is that right? Was that close enough?
Yeah.
How's your day going?
Sure.
How's your day?
It's great.
Okay. We'll see y'all next week. And then for those who don't care about being spoiled, we'll see you in just a little bit. And until next week, I've been Scott. And with me has been...
Blake's not able to come to the phone right now.
Emily.
One of the podcast members that's not naked, Jessi.
I don't know how to follow that. Kevin.
I'm a never nude, Mike.
And I literally hurt. I'm Nicole.
Who's naked?
The naked one. Nicole. Look at her.
No,
Look at her
my,
right now.
my shirt. I have a shirt on it. It just looks like the same color as my skin.
We don't believe
Scott's
that.
not wearing
So
pants.
pasty.
I never
I see
wear
Scott's
pants
not wearing
on Zoom.
pants. Yeah.
Why would you wear pants on Zoom? No one sees your legs.
Here's what I learned
Until
today.
you go close the door and your camera turns on.
Yeah, really.
I did
Scott
today and it
wears
didn't turn on.
Scott wears no pants. Nicole
True.
has no shirt on.
True.
And Mike eats Cheerios with his dick.
True.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I need to take a Tylenol.
And birds aren't real.
And birds aren't real.
Birds aren't
You're all welcome.
Oh, God. I just realized my shirt and my skin are the same color. That looks bad.
Thank you for listening to Gray 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast at anchor.fm/Gray17podcast or youtube.com at Gray17podcast. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Patreon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Gray 17 is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Warner Brothers or any other owners of the Babylon 5 copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purpose of review, and no infringement is intended. The opening and closing themes are available from Falling Matter on YouTube.
And what's out there? The rim. And beyond that? The truth.
This is like the first Beyond the Rim with all four of us in like months.
And it had to be this episode. It's like, well, we're going to need something more to talk about.
This episode and that conversation.
Does anyone have anything they want to add aside from the questions? Because there clearly is no predictions.
Oh, I've got a lot of questions, but not that we're going to touch tonight.
I'm questioning myself about how I spend my Sunday nights.
You've been doing this shit for over 2 years now, and now you're questioning it?
Yeah, well.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do this, I guess.
We almost had a really good nature versus nurture conversation.
Mike, you almost. Good job keeping it going. Good job. Well, welcome back to Beyond the Rim. For those of you who have not seen past the Korra's mother, the Korra's father, this is where you should leave now because we'll be, I guess, talking spoilers? Kinda. For everyone else, we'll just keep going. And, well, we got 3 questions here, guys. First question, what will happen to Harris?
We don't know. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were kind of told in this episode. The one guy got picked up in a really bad wig and got brainwashed into being their PR guy. So Harris will spend 6 months getting brainwashed and then be hunky-dory and hanging out with the Corps. It's gonna be great. We don't know though. Kevin's right.
The one thing about this episode I wanted to say was, did anyone see how fucking fake the wig was on the guy that was in the commercial?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when he was supposedly a blip, it was like, who put that on him?
They definitely did not have a good production department.
No.
This is why I didn't point out that Stephen First was a director, because I usually give him praise. But man, dude, when you saw that in the camera, reshoot it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only guess they just had no budget and no time to film this episode. Like all of the makeup on like the various dead bodies and people being assaulted, it was like, oh, I rubbed a little bit of ketchup on my eyes.
Hot sauce.
Oh my god, yeah, it was so bad.
Yeah.
There's one scene though where, and I was going to bring it up in the episode, but I didn't want to because we were already off the rails. But where they're walking around down below in B5, and there's a lot of extras walking around, and there's a lot of aliens walking around. I was like, well, they really put some time into this for 5 seconds of Chan walking around down below. That really doesn't matter. But then you're right. Everything else, I think that's where they spent the makeup budget in just that one little scene, because everything else was just, oh my god.
And they hired the weird bartender to tell his insane story about Pakmara, and like that guy was a better actor than some of the other guest actors.
He was actually a really good actor.
wasn't bad.
I was kind of waiting for Monkey Man Bartender to show up.
I'd say, or Bester's boss. I was like, I could work for Drake. He seems like a nice guy.
Drake is oblivious though, right? Lauren walks out. And immediately, like 10 seconds later, he knocks, and he doesn't know that Lauren just walked out of the room.
He fucking knew.
He knew.
Okay. Speaking of Lauren, will we see her again?
Nah.
Oh.
Unless you watch, as Mike pointed out earlier, vacation movies. Sometimes.
Couple of vacation movies, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually got quite a few credits to her name. So does Chen, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But can't say either one of them have a career that's been necessarily super on my radar.
Okay, and will we see Bester again?
Nope.
We were going to if Crusade would have, not fallen apart.
No, but that was a mercy killing of that show.
Yeah.
This is the most we see of Bester in any season, which I do like. He's in here a lot, but
Oh, this was Al's swan song.
I believe so.
Oh, that's sad.
Mm-mm.
He's mentioned.
He's mentioned, but this is the last physical appearance of Bester.
Okay.
He was going to be in an unfilmed episode of Crusade called Value Judgments. So he was in that script, but of course TNT put that dog out of its misery before we could get to it. But yeah, so this is the end of Bester unless you want to read some books, sadly. Anything else you guys want to talk about with the episode? Because there weren't no predictions. Excellent.
I've got nothing.
Good talk. Excellent. I swear, folks, we will have more stuff to talk about as we get farther into the season. I think we're getting to a point here where we're almost to where the newbies are going to start asking questions about how people start leaving and what's going to happen with X, Y, and Z. So looking forward to those conversations. Next week, we got a little bit of Lanier. So that's great. Wonderful.
Yay. Lanier in season 5.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm not going to be upset at all, I swear.
I'll be right there with you.
Oh my God. Well, until next week, I have been Scott, and with me has been
Blake,
Kevin,
and Mike.
I'm going to go have somebody shred my mind, please. And thank you. She wasn't evil, Jessi. She was brainwashed. There's a difference. Bye.
Yeah.
We don't often see a sense of humor in psychologists.
Reports of our depression are vastly exaggerated.